I'm Anita Finley. I'm the Zoom master of Zoomer Times TV, and we're doing so many Zoomer Times. I have to tell you, people aren't even advertising. They want to do Zoomer Times, and so we're doing that. And we're having a lot of fun, and it's going all over. And so one of our very favorite interviews, of course, is with Mark Morowitz. We learn a lot, but he's got this very nice way about talking about things. He's a CPA, and he writes a monthly article in Boomer Times, which really are always very interesting. The last one was cute. It said protect, 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 but it's not about sex. Of course, it could be about sex too. You should still protect yourself, but it was what he just wanted to. Why don't you just take 1 second about that one, and then we'll go into something else.
You got to refresh my memory. I've written so many.
Okay. No, what you say is, you know, you have to say, what happens is when you don't watch your bank account, you know, carefully, and things happen, you have to protect yourself, and you had a problem with it. You said you had closed an account, or you had to close an account because somebody got into your account. Did you ever get that taken care of?
I did, and they hit my new account as well. I got it.
They did what?
They got into my new account as well as my old.
No way, Mark.
So I had to switch. I just switched banks. Yeah.
Oh, Mark.
It had to be an inside job at the bank. And I told them, and I explained to them, and the interesting, sad thing is I got a letter from the fraud department at the bank telling me that I was a victim of identity theft. And I said, identity theft, I have identity theft protection, and I've not been notified by, you know, that I've had a theft. But even when people steal your identity, they don't steal copies of your checks. Okay, that has to come from the bank. So I left. I got a new account. I had to open a new account, and I told them, I said, you know, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I got to cut you loose. That was it. It was done.
And that was a major bank. That wasn't just a little grocery store bank.
Right. It's a major bank. So it happens, but
wow.
It was too coincidental to happen twice in a period of 5 weeks for me. In fact, I think it's happened after we spoke last time. If you're interested,
yeah, I am.
I got a phone call from a bank teller, a bank teller at the bank in Richmond, Virginia. Did I tell you this story?
No.
I got a phone call from a bank teller in Richmond, Virginia, to see if I am at the bank cashing a check. I said, why do you ask that? She says, because there's somebody here cashing one of your checks, and I asked him for ID, and he gave me an ID that had your name and address on it, but it looked phony. She said, I'm from Florida, so this driver's license looked phony. So I decided to call you. I said, well, thank you, and I'll tell you what, while the guy's sitting in the drive-thru, okay, waiting for you to give him the money, what I want you to do is to stall, call the police, and let them come while he's sitting there. And you know what she told me? We're not allowed to do that. So that's how people get away with this stuff.
Yeah, you know, you did. Now I do remember you did tell us that last time, but it's still so impossible to believe it. I mean, it's like, that's why, you know, I know that's so sick. So, but now, so how did you catch that last time with the second check? What, you just watched and you saw it?
I look at my bank account online every day, 5 times a day,
right.
And it just happened to pop in there, and then, you know, so I alerted them to that, and then the next day I got that phone call from the guy who was at the bank, from the teller. So it all happened so fast.
So was it 3,000? It was a lot of money. Also 3,000. It was a big amount.
This time they got me for, you know what? Here's what they do. They cash a check for $35. They make a phony check with my name on it, and they cash one for $35. If that goes through,
yeah,
then they put one in for $350. That one went through. They probably would have put one through for $3,500. See, that's what they do. They sneak it in there. Okay, so you don't recognize it. But, you know, I'll tell you what, and this is something that all the Zoomer Times people will understand. Having to contact Social Security, having to contact my insurance supplement,
Oh,
everybody else that either takes money from my bank or deposits money into my bank. That's a 5-hour deal on the phone, and so it cost me time, cost me money and
stress. It was stressful. It was a lot of problem. I understand that.
Right.
Well, I don't know if I shared with you. I told you that I had some problems, and I'm going to tell you the name of the bank because they took care of it, so it's okay. But TD Bank, we deal with them all the time, and they're really wonderful. I don't have a problem with them. But then they wanted us to change our merchant account, when we charge our credit cards, and I let them kind of get into it a little bit, but then I decided not to do it. Well, some aggressive salesperson with one of the merchant services that they run did it anyway. And so for 6-8 months, I didn't tell you the story, 6-8 months.
No.
6-8 months, there've been charges, $45, $60, and there are always little charges and fees, so I didn't pick it up until it was $95. Then I said, what the heck is this? I tracked it back, and it was an error. So I went back to them, and you have to, as you know, you went back to this person, went to that person, and all that stuff. And finally, I found someone, and she said, well, I'm sure they'll take care of it. And she said, I'll put that on the list. And I got like $200 of the $800 I was supposed to get back. And I called, I said, well, where's the rest of the money? Well, we looked at everything over, and you really aren't due it. I said, what? And so it took another hours of calls, like you were saying. But I finally did. I went to the corporate people. I went to the top of the line. I wrote them a letter, and my subject was fraud. And let me tell you, I got a response 2 days later. And we talked about it, but this is the interesting thing. The man was wonderful, and he said, looks like, yes, it was a mistake, but we can only give you half of that back because I said, and if you agree right now, I'll get it right into your account. I said, wait a minute. I don't want half. I want the whole thing. It's not my problem. He said, okay. And he called me back in 30 minutes, says, okay, you've got all the money back. And it went right. He said it was going to take 10 days. That next week, everything was back in my account.
Yeah, you got to be, do you remember a couple of years ago, Wells Fargo was sued because.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Remember that? Well,
oh, yes. Big deal.
Interesting that you bring up TD, where I moved to, and they aggressively tried to sell me products while I was sitting there.
Yeah, see? Okay.
And I did not like that. So I said, you know what? I want to open a bank account.
Right.
And I said, if you remember, Wells Fargo was sued and lost because they aggressively, their management fee income structure was tied to the number of products that they sold. Mm-hmm. I said, this sounds a lot like that. And I got away with it. So,
yeah, but they were dealing with a CPA. They were dealing with a smart financial guy. See, I'm just a little poopy to them. I'm nothing much, but they should have been very careful with you.
Well, it happens to everybody. That's the lesson everybody has to take out of this. You have to be very careful because the only thing, cash is the one thing that we have to our name that we save up for our whole life. And it can go away very quickly if you're not diligent and vigilant about watching it. Okay, so that's my, that's what that whole protect thing was all about. All these programs that they have, LifeLock and Experian and all of that, they're great, but nothing beats your own eyes that tell you when something's wrong. Okay, and if you have a feeling that something's wrong, chances are something's wrong. Go with your feeling. Go with your gut.
Right. I know. Something that Dan does, and maybe Leonie and some friends, that they take their check, they take a picture of it, and it gets deposited into the bank. Somehow, I don't have I'll use the word balls to do that. I haven't done it. I just go to the bank ATM or to the drive-in. What, do you ever do that?
I'm not a fan of that, and I'll tell you why. I can do that, but I don't like that. The reason is because it's actually, it doesn't hurt me, but there are people that forget that they deposited a check and that you don't do anything with that check. It just hangs around. I've had clients that have had the checks cleared on them twice because somebody, like 3-4 months later, that somebody put that check through again, and because it was never canceled physically. They went, first time they did a picture, they took a picture deposit. The second time they brought it to the bank. You got to be really careful on that stuff. Okay?
So if you take a
Like
picture,
my
do
client,
it, what should you do with that check?
You should destroy it. You don't need it anymore, or else send
Destroy
it back to whoever paid you. Okay?
Oh. Yeah, well, I haven't done that, and it would save me a lot of time. I spent probably 30 minutes waiting in line. It seems like a lot of people were at the bank place today, but I decided I was going to do it, so that's
I'm
what
old.
happened.
I'm old school. I like the trail. I like the paper trail.
Yeah, I guess maybe I am too, but you know what? Maybe instead of reading what I was going to read, I wanted to ask you a question because I hear so much about it. You talked about paper money and dollars. Are we ever going to go to this, what's it called, cyber currency, or what's the word?
Um, you mean the
Crypto.
yeah,
It's,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Where it's really not money, it's like an account.
Like Bitcoin, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
Bitcoin, that's what I meant, Bitcoin. You
Uh,
think that's where we're headed?
Not in our lifetime. I don't. I mean,
Really?
Bitcoin is accepted as payment certain places, but as a whole society, I don't think so. Maybe 100 years from now, if the world is still around, maybe. So it'll be a global economy, a truly global economy. Paid for. Everything will be paid for by Bitcoin. But you
So
still
tell
have
me
to.
what that actually is. Why don't you explain Bitcoin?
It's just a concept. It's like, okay, it's like it's almost like making a bank transfer. Okay, like you transfer money from your account to my account, but it's not money. It's stuff that you can't. If you send me Bitcoin, I can't take that Bitcoin and go to the store. I have to use it in another Bitcoin location. Okay, some other place.
Oh,
However, I mean that's could be a way for people to hide their money, and if that's the case, you can be sure that the government's going to track that down and change that. They'll change those rules. So, I mean, all of these things are devised. They're all ways that are devised to cheat the government out of tax dollars.
is
That's all.
that right?
Yeah, of course. Hide money. Everybody needs to hide money. Okay.
The
Taxes are
reason
going.
I was thinking though, because when you go to Europe, you go somewhere else, the money is different. It's not dollars, it's pesos or
Right.
something else. I thought Bitcoin would make it all one thing. No?
Well, that's why they would have. Well, like if you bring $1 to the Dominican Republic and go buy something on the street, what they do is the vendors there. I don't know if you've noticed this down in the Caribbean. They have calculators, and what they do is they calculate the day's exchange rate,
Yeah.
and they take different dollar values. So they do the same thing with Bitcoin. I mean, it's not that you would lose money with that, because everything costs a different amount all over the world. So they would have to do an exchange rate on Bitcoin as well. So, but I don't think we're going to have to deal with that in our time.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious about that whole thing with the money. And it's the fees that the banks charge. It's always something that they charge. But if you have enough money and you keep the money in there, not. But if you don't, it just keeps
Right.
piling on and on and on.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, well, I started out, of course, telling you something, but I just think that what's happened now with older adults who are on their texts and they're on their iPhones, and some are widowed or they're just not very smart, and they wind up getting, pardon the expression, in bed with the wrong people. And it's not necessarily in bed, but they get a thing. So maybe now, let's see if we do have more time. I think we do. I'm going to do it because it's pretty interesting. I'm going to just tell you what happened here. So I get a lot of texts, and and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on a lot of things, and so it started yesterday. It says, "Good morning, Anita. Let's see. Good morning, Anita. Bernard, your friend on Facebook. I have been writing you, but I don't get any response from you. How are you doing today?" That's typical, right? "I know you must be wondering how I got your number. Well, I got it from your Facebook profile. I know it not polite writing you through your number without your permission. I really plead for that, but I have no choice because I really want to talk to you." Right? Keep going. I wrote, "Who are you? Where do you live? What is your profession?" He says, "I'm from Spain, but I live in San Jose, California, but presently in Brazil for 8 weeks contract. I'm a geology. I discover minerals resources for different companies, and I work independently as a contractor. And you?" I said, "Not interested in continuing this conversation. Good luck." He says, "Did I say anything wrong to you? If I did, why don't you tell me? I will quickly apologize. No one is perfect in this life." And I said, "No, too busy." He says, "I would understand if you are too busy. Probably we can't talk later. Why don't you kindly create a little space for my friendship with you? At least in that case, we would know ourselves more better instead of pushing me away, not minding to know me more better." That's the end. Of course, now I'm not even going to respond again. But I know other people who've had this kind of thing happen. It's funny. Most of them are from someplace in the United States, but they wind up somewhere else. They're there, they're on ships, they're doing things. Now, a person who isn't, doesn't know what they're doing could really get involved with that. And before you know it, my friend, they ran out of money, as you know, or they have a credit card and they needed to, they wanted help with it. It's always something. And I wanted to get this. I've never had anything like this before. It's my first time. And I wanted to share this with people. Don't do it. Now, normally I wouldn't even have responded at all. That's the best thing. But I just thought, well, what is this? And you can just see where they are sitting somewhere and they get your name from Facebook or LinkedIn or somewhere. And if you're stupid enough to continue, but now older adults maybe they are on Facebook. They are getting on more Facebook. They are getting on things like that. And I encourage them to, because it helps their families. It helps a lot of things, but caution. That's why this protect in your last article, it's the same thing.
Well, that's why they need somebody to, they need somebody to run this by, and tell a son or a daughter, me, whatever, and say, I got this thing. I don't know what it is. It doesn't sound kosher. And we would tell them it's not kosher. Okay. It is. They're scams. They're the beginning of scams, and you got to be really careful. And those are the people that are lonely. They prey on. Believe me, after you said forget it, he went on to the next one. And
exactly.
Frankly, I'm not convinced that a lot of these things aren't bots. You know what a bot is? It's a robot, and they're programmed to converse with you based on your answer. Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I heard of them, but tell me how that works. I don't know how that works.
Somebody, probably the Russians. They're Russian bots. The Russians, the real bad guys are from Russia, and they control the dark web, which I don't know if you're familiar with the dark web.
No, I'm not.
The dark
This is a
web.
great conversation. We may not have enough time for the whole thing. We may have to do it next month too, but keep going.
Fine.
I love this.
The dark web is the dastardly part of the internet. It's where all the theft, the internet, the identity theft happens. All those, everything gets sold like it's the black market internet. Okay, and what they do is they concoct scams like this. They garner your trust, and some of them are real people. Some of them, what they do is they program the computer to strike up a conversation, and based on your responses. So like you said, I'm not interested. When the program sees not interested, it's programmed to answer you in a certain way until you say yes. And then it says, send me your information. And that's when they got you. All right. So you got to be like super careful of that. There's a lot of stuff people don't know about, including me, but I learn more every day. You know, and people need to just be aware that there's somebody out there that they can call just to ask a question. Is this real? I get that question probably 5 times a day from people.
Do you?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Well,
I do.
let me tell everybody, this is Mark Morowitz. Write his number down. Come on, this is used to be called Pencil Talk Radio. This is Pencil TV Radio. Please get your pencils out. Write his phone number. I'm going to give it to you. All right, you ready? 609-338-3603. Again, 609-338-3603. Do what Mark said. If you get something like I got or some phony thing, see, he knows so much. I don't know anything about that stuff. Isn't that interesting? I think I know so much about the computer, but I really don't. And just call him. And, you know, now sometimes it might be something good. So don't just delete it if you're not sure. It might be a long lost friend or cousin or somebody.
There's a joke going around. I don't know if you've seen it.
What?
About 10 years ago, that an email chain started going around that this guy in Nigeria, was going to inherit money and he was going to cut you in on a piece. Did you ever see that email?
No, I've seen a lot of them like that. Yeah,
so there's a joke going around now, a meme, one of the Facebook memes, or the cartoonish kind of thing. It says the police knocked down the door of an apartment in Nigeria and found $65 billion worth of cash sitting there. And it's a joke. It's like the guy actually got the $65 billion. So you got to be real careful about that. Okay. I told you, my grandmother fell for that when I was 10 years old. How long ago was that? She not for that one, but fell for something 50 some odd years ago. Okay, this stuff has been going around forever.
So it's not on an internet. So what, you got a letter?
No, it was something in person. But
really,
scams have been around forever.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
the scammers just adapt to the current technology. That's all. So you got to be real careful. All right, but it's not a reason for the boomers, for the older people, to not utilize technology. Just utilize it smartly. That's all.
Great. I'm glad you said that, because we've now affiliated with this elearningforseniors.com. I think I've told you about that. And you need to get on it. You need to learn new courses. You learn, maybe there'll be courses on this stuff. You need to get on it. But what you have to do is be careful. And something I learned from you today about the bots, that you're saying that all these words and all these things are already programmed in, so they knew what I would say.
Sometimes they're real people. You never know. You don't know.
Right.
But I know all those people that say, send me, $3,000 and I'll come visit you. They never show up.
No, of course not. But usually it's not. My one friend was talking to this person, and we used to laugh about it. I mean, it seemed like he was real. He said all these good things, and I always said, can't you just get them to be on the phone? You'll hear a lot more. Well, they don't want to get on a phone.
Right.
They're not on the location they can get on a phone. They're on one of these oil drills out in the ocean, because if they're on a phone, I think you can talk to them more. But this one person seemed so real, and I said, maybe he is real, and he was going to come to Miami and all. And then he said, this was strange, he said, I need some help with my passport, and I'm going to give you my passport number. You'll see my picture and everything, and can you help me do this? And as soon as that happened, I said, stay away from this. This is dangerous, right?
That's fine. Yep. Exactly. That's one of the scams. There's thousands of them. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But now with LinkedIn, you do get to see a lot of people, because people want to connect with you, and a lot of these people put down who they are, but you don't know if that's really who they are, the president of this or what they're, right?
Right.
They can do anything.
Absolutely. There's no
So
vetting.
how do you check up on someone?
You just Google their name and see what pops up, and if there's anything there that that looks shady, then just keep. I know for myself, because I'm a CPA, I have about 4 pages worth of stuff on the internet, and everything's there from like if you Google my name, you get houses that I've owned, family members, you get everything about them, and then you keep going. You do your own detective work. That's what the internet's all about.
Right, but yeah, but also
If you don't find somebody's name, stay away.
you mean if you look it up and you can't find anything, stay away?
Nothing pops up. You're going to find everybody's name on the internet that's legit. Or even if they're illegitimate, at least if they exist, you'll find their name. Okay? If you don't find somebody,
What?
just Google. You just Google it, type it in, and hit search. And if that name doesn't show up, they're not real.
And why is that? Why does Google have everybody's name and something about them?
Because Google has managed to create a database of everything that's ever been published. Okay, that's what they're going back. I don't know, maybe to like the 70s. Okay, but anything that's been in a newspaper, an obituary, transfer of a deed, somebody's mention, relatives, everything is there. You'll find it. If you can't find anybody's name anywhere on the internet, probably not real.
Well, I've looked up some old boyfriends, frankly. Can't find them.
2 minutes.
Maybe
they died?
Maybe they're dead. Who knows?
But I mean, if they're dead, wouldn't their name still be there and the things they were or did?
It depends when they died. If it was before they started accumulating this data,
right. Yeah, like 30 years ago, right?
Right. Right, exactly. So
have you ever looked up any of your old girlfriends?
I didn't have any old girlfriends.
Any of your young girlfriends?
Sure, of course I looked them up, and you find them, and I reconnected with a couple of people, friend-wise, and it's always nice to tie up loose ends and and to make amends and things like that, and it's always nice. You never know.
Yeah.
You never
So Dan, you're on. This has been enlightening, hasn't it? Have you learned a lot?
It is great conversation.
So much fun. Anyway, so this is great. We called this eclectic, didn't we, Mark?
We did. It's like it's like a smorgasbord of leftovers, and
That's why people like this.
As long as you can learn something new every time you speak to me, I'm happy.
Well, every time you're on, I learn so much from you. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, you're great. I learned about bots and the Bitcoin, and I learned that you just got, your money taken out again. But okay, Mark. Well, we look for you're writing another article on something, maybe with some of the things that we just talked about.
Yeah. It's been a hectic week or so I'll put something together.
Okay. Wonderful talking. Enjoy your son.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
If anybody knows if you know of any vets who need in the Palm Beach County area who need an assistant, let me know. Okay.
Is that what you'd like to do?
Yeah, he's a vet.
Okay, I know of a very good vet in Boca Raton, and I will give you his name, and maybe they need someone.
Please do.
I will. Okay.
Sounds good.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Mark.
Happy healthy New Year to everybody. Happy and healthy.
You too. Lashana
Thank you.
Tova.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.